Ingram's had a good season, though. He doesn't get a lot of attention out there because of Ball.
Absolutely. He showed good progression, but
Yes.
nowhere near where the other
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Need a ham sandwich.
And finally, staying in the NBA, where the Thunder took on the Nets in Mexico City last night. And what is happening with OKC? Looked like they may have turned things around with wins against the T-Wolves, Spurs, and Jazz, only to lose to the 12th place Nets last night. Carmelo Anthony was particularly bad, going 5 of 20 from the field, only had 11 points. Nick, is it panic time for the Thunder yet?
It's time to review your emergency procedures. It's time to figure out what we're going to do if and when we have to have a water landing. This is your flotation device. Here's the oxygen masks. Like, we're not dropping them yet, but it's more than turbulence. Let me show America something. Let me show you one of my favorite things, a blind stat test. This is over the last 9 games. These are 2 players. Player on the left, 1 less minute per game, a slightly, barely higher field goal percentage, and a barely higher three-point percentage. Would you agree those 2 guys, though, it's very close?
Yes.
All right, let's show who those 2 people are.
George and Melo.
Carmelo and Lonzo.
Ooh.
So Lonzo, the worst shooter in the league, a guy whose offense is so bad it's killing his team.
I mean, there's no graphic you want to be on with any of the balls. The dad,
No.
the brothers, none of them.
That's my guy Carmelo, who was a robust 5 of 20 last night. Hey, Melo, you brought Syracuse its only championship. I have a lot of love for Carmelo Anthony. When you're playing on a team with no other players, 5 of 20 is going to happen because you got to take the 20. You might have to take 25. But when you're playing on a team with Russell Westbrook, I know Paul George wasn't out there, 5 of 20 does not need to happen. When Steven Adams is as efficient as he is near the basket, when you're playing the Brooklyn Nets, 5 of 20 does not need to happen. Carmelo becoming a net negative for this team is not something I saw happening, but it's what's been happening this whole season.
What I wonder about Melo, and he does have the championship, but how important is it for him to win in the NBA? Like a lot of players, it is live or die, I'm going to win. There's other players that I'm going to be known as a scorer. There's other players that I want to play a long time. So it's not as important to him. He hasn't won on a high level consistently. Paul George hasn't won on a high level consistently. Russ, he hadn't won on a high level. So I wonder, is it the real pressure internally that Wade had when LeBron and Chris Bosh and him came together? Was it the real pressure that Durant had when those guys, Draymond and Steph and them, they had championship pedigree? So real pressure, it made the regular season more important. I don't see that with OKC. I don't see the sense of urgency when I watch them play.
Cece, you mentioned how important is winning to Melo. You then mentioned Wade, LeBron, Bosh. Let's not forget that was supposed to be Wade, LeBron, Carmelo. But what happened when they were all agreeing, privately at the Olympics, we're going to take the shorter extensions? Melo took the max full extension to get as much money as was possible. I don't begrudge him that. But when you're talking about how important is winning, these other guys timed up, and Bosh was the guy, okay, Melo did his contract that way, so we'll include Chris Bosh. But we know who the Banana Boat crew is. Bosh is not part of that.
Right.
So Melo has made a lot of decisions in his career that make it appear, and I love Melo, that winning is not at the height of his priorities. And now when you add to that his game is deteriorating, he's no longer one of the 3 best pure scorers in the sport, you wonder how useful he is to this team right
Jenna,
now.
the most important thing to Melo is those shekels.
Shekels. Way to pull that out. Had no idea. Did someone tell you that in here?
Oh, wow.
Check.
Wow.
But that's what everyone asks me when I come up with something that was something you would say. Shekels is something I would say.
Yeah, but you live in a bubble, Jonah. I've lived in the real world. I've had a few shekels in my life.
I don't have enough. I don't have enough. Thursday Night Football, Saints falling 20-17 to Atlanta last night. He doesn't do this a lot, but Drew Brees threw a costly pick at the end of this game. Linebacker Deion Jones got that one. Rookie Alvin Kamara left the game early with a concussion. All right, so the Saints have now lost 2 of their last 3 games. Chris Carter, you starting to worry about this New Orleans team at all?
Well, I'm worried halfway through the first quarter because I saw that the game plan with Alvin Kamara, when he went out of the game, it totally changed. It was like the overall threat and the fright that the Saints were putting into Atlanta. Atlanta was starting to get a beat on them. Like, they weren't intimidated by them. They weren't intimidated by the receivers, not thinking that they had a deep threat. So if they slowed down Mark Ingram Jr., then that could solve the equation. What we didn't expect and what I was surprised at was this team, when leaning on Drew Brees at the end, that Drew Brees failed them. Now, the reason why we're not talking about Drew Brees a whole bunch, because Matty Ice, he was awful. I mean, the quarterback play in this game was not good.
Which is shocking.
Yes, but when you start to get November and December and you start talking about losing streaks, you're talking about losing 2 out of 3. They were lined up to potentially be home field advantage. Or the Saints were included in the conversation. Are they the best in the NFC? Now they're totally out of that conversation. And given the number of teams that we're going to have between 8 and 10 wins, this was a huge loss for them, which was compounded by Alvin Kamara being knocked out and put in the concussion protocol on the first drive.
When you're as good as the Saints can be, and as good as they showed they were for 2 months, I do not evaluate your status as, are you going to make the playoffs? I evaluate your status on, can you win the Super Bowl?
Can you make a run?
And I've used this number a million times. I'll use it again. If you get a bye, you have according to the NFL history and the current playoff format, around a 40% chance of making the Super Bowl. If you don't get a bye, you have less than a 4% chance of making the Super Bowl, historically. That's just the numbers. And the Saints, with the loss last night, it's hard to find the bye for them. Like, period, point blank. So that's what it means to them. Now, as far as my evaluation of the game, this was a comedy of errors. This was, you had Dan Quinn butcher the clock at the end of the first half, only to be one-upped by Matt Ryan throwing a terrible pick at the end of the first half, only to then be one-upped by the Saints taking 3 points off the board because they can't get lined up on the field goal.
Yeah.
Then let's go to the second half. Matt Ryan throws a terrible pick in the end zone, only to be one-upped by Drew Brees' terrible pick in the end zone, only to be one-upped by another ridiculous Dan Quinn decision, and then to decline a penalty, which then the Saints obviously go for it, and then all those guys only to be one-upped by this referee. Can I just show what happened here? So here's the situation. The Saints are likely going to get the ball back. They have 3rd and short. There's 1:10 left. They're going to get the ball back with about 30 seconds. This referee, who seems to be on the older scale of the referees, he doesn't hear Sean Payton asking for a timeout. They let 8 seconds run off the clock. Payton runs out to him, and he throws his flag, which effectively ends the game. The Saints would have been 1 stop away from getting the ball back, around 30 seconds left, down 3. Like, you can't do that when you... So the whole thing was not a well-played or well-officiated game.
Quick question for you. You were very high on this team.
Yeah.
This was your team that could, I mean, as of 2 days ago, could be in the Super Bowl, one of the best teams in the league. You would have put them at number 1 easily, if whatever. Did any of that change your mind? And...
Alvin, Cici's right. I mean, if they had lost, they had played like this and Alvin Kamara were healthy, I'd reevaluate how good they are.
Okay. But without Kamara, it's a different
Alvin
conversation.
Kamara right now leads the NFL in missed tackles. So those are plays you don't have to design. Just getting the ball anywhere on the field, he can make more people miss than anyone in the NFL.
Right.
Any offense would miss that type of productivity.
But unfortunately, Jenna, when they're figuring out who gets the buys, they're not like, oh, well, New Orleans, you're a game out of it. But that one game, Kamara wasn't there, so we're going to give it to you. So, yeah, it does change what their projection is because...
Well, the way I thought it went was, isn't that the team that Nick really likes? Give them the bye. Which one did CC like? Give that one the bye.
That's how it should be. Panthers buy every year.
Right. Time now for Hall of Fame hands. Chris, take a look at this. Watch this.
Without these hands, I don't know what I'd do.
What's yourself? Fires a deep. What a catch! Greatest catch I've ever seen.
Kind of staying local in this one. This is North 100 and High in New Jersey. Jared McMahon.
Okay.
Crazy one-handed grab.
Now he had to go on the other side of him. Guy was holding his jersey. Very good.
They're playing at
Are
the
they playing
big
at the Meadowlands?
Oh, no. Another.
MetLife.
Watch him holding his jersey. Left hand pushes off on him. Catches it with his right.
And, Cece, did you see that was 4th and 2?
No, I didn't see